All right, thank you for coming. Let's do a call to order. And Sarah, will you do a roll call?
Yes. Director Gawain,
Present.
Director Edwards,
Present.
Chair Lindor.
Here.
All committee members are present.
Thank you. So, any comments from the public that want to comment on any of the items?
We do not have any members of the public in attendance.
Okay, we'll keep that in
Oh,
mind.
yeah.
So we have, do we have any corrections or additions to the agenda, by the way?
No, we don't.
I'd like to add one thing, and it's just a discussion item, so it'll be towards the end when we get to that section.
Okay.
Okay? All right, I guess we should start with number 1, adoption of the committee meeting minutes from November 24. I have them here somewhere. You have the exhibit in front of you, I hope. It's the draft minutes. Does anybody have any changes to this?
None. I move
None?
approval.
Okay, is there a second?
I don't know if I can second. I wasn't present because I wasn't on the committee at
Well,
this
then I shall second.
Okay.
Okay, all in
Just a point of
approval?
order.
Yes.
Just a point of order, Marianne. You can second even if you weren't at the meeting. Also,
Okay.
you can vote to approve, understanding that you expect it.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, I learned something.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm silencing an office phone.
I'll take a roll call vote.
Yes, please.
Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Gawain,
Aye. Approval.
Chair Lindor.
Approval.
Minutes
Okay.
are approved 3-0.
All right, perfect. Let's move it to item 2, to adopt the 2026 meeting schedule. You have it there under action item number 2. I do have a question. Is everybody okay with the 2 p.m. Zoom call? Any requests for time changes, anything like that?
Nope, good.
I don't want to
Good time.
break into anybody's schedule.
Good for me.
All right, that's good for me too. So the dates, you'll see, I think they're every other month if I'm not mistaken. And then they usually come after the board meeting.
Right.
Anybody want to make a motion to accept this?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Okay. All right. Do you want to do a roll call vote, Sarah?
Yes. Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Gawain,
Aye. Approval.
Chair Lindor.
Approval. Yes.
Meeting schedules adopted 3-0.
Perfect. So let's move to discussion item number 3, which is the status of the public outreach policy. And we'll turn this over to the Phil Wellman.
Yep.
This feeling well, man.
1 second while I pull that up.
Hi, Stephanie.
It was nice to see you guys in person last night, by the way.
I know you exist from the waist down.
I'm around.
Proof of life.
Okay. Trying to get there.
Good. Uh,
Can you see my screen there? Okay.
yeah, looks great. Looks like a document. All right.
Okay.
You know, before I get started, I just wanted to say that you know we got an interesting time ahead of us. You know, and we've got some significant challenges, and we're going to need all the great ideas that we can get our hands on. You know, in the next year or two. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm always wide open. You know, if you hear something I'm doing, you think, I think we could do it better. You know, let me know. So don't ever hold back. You know, in that regard, I really do appreciate that because you never know where the next great idea is going to come from. You know? So anyhow, so that's my plea. Okay, November 25th to today, February 24th. Let's have a look at what we did the last 3 months. We had a newsletter that went out on December 3rd with Paul presenting the Pure Water Monterey video. Great video, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you really should have a look at it. He really did. You know, it's got humor in there. It's got information. It's got the whole package, and he really did a great job.
Sounds like you're describing our board meetings.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm trying to spread it around. The deliveries, a little over 21,000. We opened 6,000. As you can see, it was a 28.7% open rate. And what I've done there is I've indicated that a good open rate is between 20 and 30. So we consistently do quite well, which I'm always pleased to see, to say the least. Clicks, 313 people were interested in having a look at that video. And let's move on to the next one. And on December 18th, we sent out a newsletter, and as you may or may not know, I'm sure most of you are probably aware of it. You know, we seem to get some resistance from Newsom and the governor's office. This was particularly back around the time of the Coastal Commission hearings. And it was interesting to sort of see that they went out of their way to get this information out about the fact that they were supporting recycled water. And it was a really good, it was a good little article and really something worth getting out to our folks to let them know that Newsom is on our side, at least insofar as that's concerned, or that's the way it looks. So again, deliveries, 21,055 opens. We got 30.9% there. Pretty fair. Let's move on to the next one. We did a
Well, let's hold on that one. It was telling that the number of derogatory public comments, although never great, we never get really more than 5 or 10 public emails back. But remember how we requested that you don't put Newsom's face on it?
Right.
Just his name probably resulted in 5 or 6 negative emails without even reading the storyline.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he is a political being.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is an ad that Cal-Am produced for us to post in both the Monterey County Weekly and Pinecone. It was just a quarter page. It was a rebate ad that they decided they needed to pop out. I don't know much about the background of it. I just simply was responsible for getting it out there. Stephanie, is there anything more you want to add to that? Yeah. Did they get much action? Do you know? Oh, I can't hear you. Okay. All right. All right. Not a lot of excitement over there, so we'll move on. Okay. And this was an ad we ran right after the first of the year, January 15th, to sort of give a roundup of, the areas that were engaged in water supply, transparency, community environment, so on and so forth. So that went out at that point as a brand ad, as a half page in both Monterey County Weekly and the Pine Cone. And it also went out as a newsletter, to little, almost 21,000 folks. Again, opens, we got about 28%. So it was consistent. Onwards. And then on January 10th, we sent out a newsletter announcing the fact that Cal-Am had decided that they needed a rate increase and that there was a presentation here locally where you could voice your opinion. And we got a pretty good response to this. We got 38% of the people that got this opened it. So that's the best of the bunch. And that's great news. As far as clicks are concerned, you notice at the bottom of this email that we sent out, we asked people to post their written comments to the CPUC, and we got, there was a significant amount of action there. So that was a good one. This is a good one. It was really sort of the perfect, it was perfect storm there. And then shortly after that, January 26th, we sent out this newsletter. When I found out that Cal-Am had basically decided to oppose the modification of the CDO, I felt it was time to say something, and we did. And does Cal-Am care? Now, I think we know the answer to that question. But we were asking others to ponder it. Deliveries, 20,845. Opens, 6639, 31.8%. Good response. All right, onward. And then, I thought, well, let's try a social media ad here. And it really, two things. First of all, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the idea of boosting ads. Basically, you can pay to boost a social media ad outside of your immediate area, as wide as you like, depending on how much you want to invest in it. And so, of course, I thought, great opportunity to, sort of get this message out to a larger group. And I sent it out, and sure enough, Facebook decided that they didn't like this ad very much, and they didn't want me to post it. So that ended that, and that does happen occasionally. I mean, they just shut you down. An ad that just somehow doesn't meet up to their requirements, it's dumped, and that's what happened. So, so we didn't do real well with this one. We got 2 likes on this one. So I don't know exactly what happened there, but although at the same time, I noticed that our followers on Facebook have gone from 114 to 118. That's the biggest jump that we've experienced in a few months. So I don't know. Who knows? And then with Instagram, we got 5 likes. And our followers on Instagram went from 997 to 1,077. I mean, that was a big jump. That's a big jump for us. So anyhow, we're over the 1,000 mark with Instagram. So let's move on. And here's the ad that's coming up this week. And I got to say that this is one of my favorites to date. I mean, it was such a great image. I mean, how can you go wrong with this one? And I don't know, probably some of you are aware of what this is about. But basically, this is a 34-inch migrating steelhead that was captured at the first of last month. Huge. I mean, this is a huge fish. Who would ever guess that a fish like that could swim in Carmel River? Anyhow, it can. And it was released on the 5th. And so we decided to sort of expand on that theme. And I sat down with Corey and talked to Dave and whoops. And all right. And sort of we developed a storyline there. So basically, and I'll just relate it to you. You'll read it because it's coming out this Thursday in both the Monterey County Weekly and in the Pine Cone.
Yeah, just a heads up, your dates are wrong on the slide. It's February 26th, but.
Oh, well, you're right. Close, only a month away. So yeah, so it's Thursday. It's going to be appearing in both Monterey County Weekly and in the Pine Cone. And it also, we're sending it out as a newsletter with an extended version of the story. So this first portion of the story just pretty much describes the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District's engagement in the restoration of the watershed over the last 40 years. So that's what this outlines here. You can read it yourself when it comes out. And then I've also included some information in there about the sex lives of steelhead, which I think people will find interesting as well.
Our own little
remarkable.
Bridgerton.
Pardon me?
Our own little Bridgerton series.
Yeah. But I mean, they're an amazing fish. Absolutely. I mean, what they are capable of doing. I'll let you read the article and discover it on your own. And then obviously down at the bottom, I'll tell you a little story here. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he's pretty informed, and he's pretty informed on what's going on with the Water Management District and, a lot of other organizations around this area as well. And we were discussing it, and I brought up the fact that Pure Water Monterey is now responsible for delivering 60% of the drinking water to the Monterey Peninsula. And he was shocked. He hadn't heard that information yet. He wasn't aware of that. And he was very surprised by it. So it just reminded me that, you can't share that particularly important information enough because people just don't listen. They simply don't listen.
Well, one point of order on that we've been struggling with in this situation now where we have a surplus of water.
Yeah. That
60%, actually even a little higher than 60%, is how much water Pure Water Monterey provides relative to local demand.
Right.
But the overall sources of supply exceed local demand. So at some point, Cal-Am's going to make a decision which one to leave in the ground and which one to deliver to customers.
Right.
So we say 60%, which is a for real mathematical function.
Yeah.
But we don't know yet what they're going to do. I suspect they'll leave seaside native groundwater in the basin and deliver as much pure water as possible. But
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. There's a lot going on there, Dave. I certainly get that. But I think the point I was trying to make is that these simple facts are just really important for people to know, and they're really important for us to repeat and repeat often.
Yeah.
Because they don't listen. You can't just tell them once and expect that they're going to remember, what the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District is really responsible for doing. And that's really it's really sort of got me thinking. Stephanie, you had brought up some time ago, this idea of engaging in social media in a slightly different way, but in a way in which I think what we could do, and I think this is in alignment with what you're thinking, but correct me if I'm not, is that if we could make because the water district provides such a variety of services to this area. If you look at the menu, sometimes it's amazing to me how much the water district does in this area. And I think we could just simply make a list and it probably would be 50 or 60 areas deep, and just start knocking out social media ads, one for each one. Just a picture, and the problem that we're solving, how we're solving it, just a little bit of copy, not too much, but just let them know that we're engaged, and keep that information out there. What do you think? What do you think about it?
No,
I was thinking about you. I thought, you and I need to get together and make that happen.
yeah, no, we talked about doing that last
I
year.
know we did.
So yeah.
I know. And I know Alvin, wherever you are, Alvin.
Yeah, I'm out of here. Go ahead.
I know you're keen on that. I think of you every time I think of social media.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's probably the way for us to really get value out of it. Just by constantly sort of pushing that message out there. Not pushing it out there in a political way, but just in an informative way, Anyhow, we can talk about that later. So coming up, annual report, and Dave's going to talk about a little bit more about that in a minute, I think, here. It's going to be printed in April and inserted in the Monterey County Weekly. That is your plan, is it not, Dave?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we've been talking about a video exploring, objectives and strategies, and nothing is firmed up yet. Just ideas are being sort of discussed in that area, because I think there's a lot of opportunity here. I think there's a lot of accomplishment, and I think there is a story to tell that this community and other communities need to hear. So, to be discussed. And social media, looking at ways to expand engagement. This goes back to what I just shared with you there, Stephanie. So there you have it, folks.
Thank
Great.
you, Phil.
It was fun.
Thank you.
So, yeah, go
And I
ahead.
don't think we have any public, so are we done with this? Any comments?
Good work.
Thanks, Alvin.
Excellent. Thank you, Phil. I think whenever I get to my discussion item, it's going to kind of segue off of what you just talked about. So
Okay.
we'll do that towards the end. Do we want to move to item number 4? Status
Sure.
of the annual report. General Manager, Mr. Stolt.
Yeah, so you don't have a draft in front of you. The language for the report, the draft language for the report, was sent to Phil middle of last week. We discussed schedule this morning. We may have a draft for approval at the March board meeting, which would be consistent with our statutory requirement. But Phil has some thoughts about photocopy that would accompany the text. And I've said if we need to push it to April, we'll push it to April to get the best product. You may recall that we've gone to a kind of a 6-page, think of 3 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper folded in a trifold. Very nice little product, which means there's about 5 pages available for text and photos, with the front page typically being an eye-catching title and photo.
Gavin Newsom's face.
Pardon me?
Gavin Newsom's face.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah. How about a picture of the State Water Board building with a target on it? More on that later. So it's coming together. So it'll either be, as I said, the March board meeting, or if need be, the April board meeting. But the full board will have a chance to see copy. The proposal, and I know we've discussed this 2 years now, we've made the financial decision to not insert it in the pine cone, because the weekly seems to be very effective. There is a lot of overlap on the peninsula between the two. And they also do an electronic posting of the document where you can come in at any time and go see it. So until that doesn't work very well, the cost is very affordable. The process is very well organized. And so that's kind of the proposal that we'll bring to the full board once again. And
Well,
I think we've actually got quite a bit to crow about last year, because Stephanie did the amnesty program, we did the water allocation to the jurisdictions, and we filed the petition for modification on the cease and desist order. So some of that is a good reminder to the public that it wasn't just business as usual. There were some major things happening.
through the chair, if I may, on costs, Dave, did the Pine Cone and the Coast Weekly get to bid on this, or what? We just going with one automatically,
Yeah, we're going to ask them to update their bids from last year. That's on the to-do list here this week or early next week. It's the concern I have is more the overlap, where you'll have 5 to 10,000. So the weekly's universe is about 20,000, I believe, and they'll be placed in. Yes, there will be some in King City, which is totally irrelevant to us, but they'll be in Salinas, and people who go from the peninsula to Salinas may pick theirs up there, and vice versa. But what we've seen is the Pine Cones distribution, the number's not that far afield. I think both of them are a little exploded or exaggerated, because if you go to your local Safeway on Tuesday, there's hundreds and hundreds of leftovers. So not, when they're advertising their reach, it's not the same as their numbers. But the overlap on the Monterey Peninsula between the Pine Cone and the Weekly is significant. And so paying for that twice, and the Pine Cone not having the electronic posting. I saw Paul Miller, the editor of the Pine Cone, last weekend, and he's become much more cordial to the district. I mean, he's always friendly personally, but we've kind of turned him around. He was very hostile, 15 years ago, 12 years ago. But he also hasn't said, hey, I really want your business. Whereas, the editor of the Weekly, both previous years called again. Eric Cushman is who I'm speaking of. Said, we really want to do this. What a great idea. So there's also a little bit of reward for effort.
Okay, as long as we're being fair, and as long as you be able to explain it to the full board and the public,
Yep.
What's going on, because both of them in the district, so just have it explainable. I'm not too fond of the Pine Cone myself, but it puts something out there. So I'm just saying.
Yep.
Be
Understood.
fair. All right.
Understood. Yep.
So is that it?
Yeah, that's it. That's just a status update.
Anybody have any questions? None? Okay, so let's move on to our favorite one, item number 5. Mike, take it away.
Well, and before Mike starts, I just want to say that our current chair, Becca, your colleague as vice chair, did give us a little tough love discussion about you can't be all things to all people. And you may remember some of the board meeting discussion about, let's bring in students, let's have 50 people, let's do this, let's do that. And with that, I'll leave it to Mike to.
With that caution.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thanks for setting me up for. Hey, so the Citizen Water Panel is based off of the 2025 board's strategic objectives. And so, we kicked it around with staff internally at first, and then went to the board to get some additional direction. And as Dave was mentioning, we got a lot of direction, a lot of ideas. And so we kind of came back and went to the drawing board and kind of came up with what you see in Exhibit 5A. And so you think that it may be not very much different than what we pursued before, but I just really want to kind of lay this out is that, I'm kind of a fan of let's do a pilot project first. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what momentum we can get from doing this project. And then if we can tweak it, we can make modifications. If it's something that was successful, then we can, implement it. If we want to grow it, we can do whatever. But we need to start off with something. So I know, Alvin, I think you may have been talking about, hey, we want us to be Brown Act. We think that by keeping it low key, by keeping it to 10 members or less, we're going to achieve what we want to achieve, which is provide more information to our citizens. We're going to help educate these people that we want the board to solicit interested candidates from their district. So there's 7 board members. Let's get 7 people. Then we can get 3 requests from the government affairs committees, from some of the different stakeholders. We can't get them all. We don't want to get them all. We just want to get a small group and do this pilot project with 10 people. You can kind of see the topics that we're going to cover. It's nothing much different than what Phil talked about, all the different projects we're involved with, and then we can throw in a, field trip to show these people. It's one thing to talk about it. It's to show pictures and slides and things like that. It's totally another thing to drive out to Sleepy Hollow and to see that facility. So I think with this education, Phil talked about how people that may know what's going on with the district are still able to learn more about the district. And so, we've kind of cut this down. We're trying to get a more precise program that we can try to pilot first and then see what happens after that. But, we did try to take into consideration some of the comments that we got from the board at the board meeting. But we also took into consideration what Chair Oglesby had to say and saying, hey, we're not opposed to having students, but not this first time. Let's just try to do this and see how this goes. So I want to open it up to the committee and the board members to see what they have to say and if there's other input that they'd like to provide to us.
I have a question. Will somebody from this panel be reporting to the board, or Dave, will that be you?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. I had been the conduit for the Ordinance 152 committee. I'm leaning a little bit in the direction of either one of the panel members reporting back. Also, the idea of an annual letter to the board that just kind of reflects maybe priorities for the coming year for the citizens panel or learnings from the prior year. I'm not sure either Mike or I should be that filter. So that's kind of where it's at right now. Is it'd be nice to have somebody take a little ownership. But as Mike said, we need to try and see what's going to work well and what's not going to work well.
Right. Would this be something that you would maybe want to have one of your board members attend just as a pass-through kind of person?
I don't know, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I would hope that the board member that is going to attend or wants to attend is just in observation mode versus, being a mouthpiece. Because,
Right.
I think we're in the point of, hey, let's let them absorb the information. If they want to send us a letter or provide a report at a board meeting, that's on them. And then we, the board member and staff, can take that and then, if we need to modify it, we can.
Yeah, one of the concerns I might have in that is if the 7 board members appoint 7 public members, there may be discomfort. Maybe we need to rotate board members so that the appointee doesn't feel like they're being shadowed by the appointer.
Yeah.
Well,
I think just through the chair, I think what you'd want to do is have the board itself appoint a board member liaison to the committee, and have that be an official title. That way they're there in an observation capacity and being able to convey their observations back to the board as needed.
well, that's a good idea, but I feel that listening in and being there, listen to the 152 committee, it led me in the decision to sit up there and say, well, only thing they're bickering about is a desal project. You know, we got one side against the other side. That's all. That's all I've seen. I went to about 3 or 4 of those. Just standing back, listening. And another thing that concerns me, are you going to do these meetings on Zoom?
I would prefer in person myself, just to have everybody come to admin and we could do presentations. And if we need to go off on it, we have a central location.
Okay.
But if somebody needs to join in on Zoom, obviously we can make that happen.
Okay.
That's a good question. So any discussion on this?
Well, another item that came up on it, the Brown Act. Hey, I'm not too fond of the Brown Act because of this meeting right here. I can't throw something in there that I want to, what I feel that we should discuss. And I can hear our attorney sitting back there, Michael, said, nah, it's not on the agenda. So if y'all want to try without the agenda and the Brown Act, I'm willing to do that to see how these people will go. But the Brown Act keeps you on track. If I throw something out there about that CDO, hey, we can't discuss that right now. So, hey, do it without the Brown Act. Try it without the Brown Act, and let's see what kind of discussion be mounted.
If I understand correctly, you can still have an agenda and stick to the agenda. There's no, but yes, you're right. You can insert things that you want to discuss and question things. I'm like you. I sat on the 152 committee, and I basically had my head on a swivel, just going back and forth between the bickering, as you call it.
That's right.
And that was my first introduction to the water management district, which was quite interesting. Didn't realize it was so volatile of a subject until then. But I like this idea of a citizens water panel. I really like it in conjunction with our public outreach committee, because this is a leg of our public outreach. We want this committee to go back to their friends. I would love to not have the Brown Act, because I don't want them to be stifled in what they can repeat to their friends, their family, their neighbors, that sort of stuff. I'd like to see them, what was that old commercial that says you tell 2 friends, you tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and it grows exponentially. And I think that that's an excellent way to get the message out, because they're going to go home and talk about what they discussed in their meetings. With that being said, I'm assuming, is this a committee that's going to just meet on their own? Is there going to be some sort of water management district guidance, like if they have any questions, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we would be organizing it and leading, facilitating discussion.
Got it. Excellent. I don't want them to get misinformation or make stuff up.
Yeah, the divisiveness on certain water issues is pretty likely to manifest itself there as well, though, because the folks who've expressed strong interest in being those 3 panelists, government affairs committee types, they have a certain orientation, not dissimilar to the guest opinion of Jeff Davey for the business coalition that Tom Rowley was referring to at the board meeting. Kevin Dayton wants to be on, and he serves as government affairs for both the chamber here and the Salinas chamber.
And he was my opponent, so I know.
Yeah, there you go. But the interest is high, so that's a good thing too.
Oh yeah, bring back the old band so we can get started again. That's what
Get the band back together. Yeah.
Put the band back together so we can get started again. That's what I'm hearing.
I'll comment I'll comment a little bit on this, just because I'm new to the district, and I'm not new to outreach or any of that kind of stuff, but it's like, I think the district has done a great job of being transparent about all the things that are on our plate, right? And so, Phil just talked about how many things that we're getting clicks on are open. I mean, people are interested in the information we have to share, right? And we're not saying anything that has not been consistent with where we've stood or the positions that we've taken. It's whether or not they believe it or not, and we have some fantastic data that is showing our justification. And so I have no problem in presenting that in a positive way and just saying, hey, here's the information. If you have a problem with the information, you provide us with additional rebuttal, but that has not happened. And so, this won't be adversarial. Tom Rowley even said last night, read this. Well, we'll read it, Tom, and we'll show you additional information that can rebut that, stance that they're saying. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. We're not opposed to this. We think it'll be very positive, and I think it'll be very educational. That's the goal. It's just enlighten people as to all the different things that the difference.
Well, I like this idea of a trial period. Give it a trial period. Give it a 6-month trial period, 2 meetings, 3 meetings, however you want to define the trial period. I'd love the idea of one of those field trips. I will go on one of those field trips with you. Because one thing, I think our Steelhead program is a really good public interest program. This peninsula is all about conservation and that sort of thing. So I think that's a really good introduction to this for our citizens panel. So where do we go from here?
Is this just are you guys okay with just the 10-member panel, 1 appointed from each district and the 3 appointed from the different committees? And if you guys are okay with that concept,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
and that's the recommendation we'll take back to the board.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question though?
Sure.
Not to spend too much time on it, but just because it was sticky at the board meeting, was the local stakeholder organizations with government affairs committees. So this Kevin Dayton has expressed an interest. And is that because did these people approach the district and say they want opportunities for input? I'm just like, what is the universe of organizations with government affairs committee? How many are there? Have they been identified yet? I'm just need a little more.
Yeah, so I met Friday with the Government Affairs Committee of the Carmel Chamber. The Monterey Chamber has one. The Hospitality Association has one, right, Dave?
Yeah, PG Chamber has one.
All the chambers and the hospitality. Yeah. Okay.
I'm assuming CVA has something like that, or a water committee. They used to have a water committee, so there's folks who are interested in water issues. I think we'd reach out to those, and what you'll get, one of the reasons we always had divisiveness is Paul Bruno wanted to represent the taxpayers. So the Ordinance 152 had 2 seats specific to the realtors and the taxpayers. Okay. And so when Paul went off, mysteriously, John Tilley became the taxpayers appointee, where he previously had been relegated the role by the realtors. So it was the same crowd of very pro-desal, pro-Cal-Am people having those two slots. I think here, if you say there's 3 public organization folks and you go out to the 6 or 7 that have a government affairs or a water committee or what have you, we might get a little more balance, but they really want to be listening closely because, you know, they view that they're the watchdog for the corporate interests on the peninsula.
So should we expand the group?
Well, I think we're open to that later. You know, that's the.
I prefer saying to expand it now than instead of to say now we'll add some.
Yeah.
If you're going to do a pilot, let's do a pilot. And if it's 14, 15, you're not going to be voting, I hope. So if you're not voting, you know, you can use an even number. If you're going to vote, you might throw in an odd, but I don't think you're going to be voting on anything, are you?
Right. No plans to do so yet.
Well, okay. Well, yeah, I like that. At least you keep me open.
Yeah. But I'd say, you know, 12 might be the limit. That would create 5 publicly, you know, general public appointed without the direct divisional appointment. I think one of the things we also need to address is, are the director appointments by division? Because in the ordinance 152, we allowed a director to appoint someone from a different location. They just said, hey, I know this person. This person's very into water issues. But I don't think that that necessarily serves our long-term interest, which is to find people who are very interested in water-related issues who may want to run for your office later when you don't, which is, you know, one of the 4 or 5 criteria that we've talked about, which is, you know, can we use this to breed the next generation of directors?
I agree with you there, and I think it ought to be division.
Yeah.
Each one appoint one, so you can see who's in there and who's what, and that way you're probably going to know what your balance of power are going to be, and so much, because that's how that 152 end up.
Yep.
So then like Kate and Ian could appoint somebody from any district, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Kate got her own district. Well, you know, okay, yeah. But she should appoint somebody.
That would double down a little bit on Mary Ann's district.
Yes.
You know, same thing with Ian and Alvin.
Right. I appoint one, but you know.
But Kate's District 5 is much bigger than Division 5.
Exactly.
Right.
Of course, nobody from Big Sur is going to want to be on this. So.
So, Rebecca, does that sound like, you know, have each director appoint somebody from their division, and then Kate and Ian can just
I'm gonna have to get out and meet my neighbors. I asked Mark Eisenhart, you know, just offhand if he would. He's like, no, I'm way too busy. So. So any other discussion on this?
Well, if we're going to go ahead and you're going to throw it to the board next month or whenever, I want to see, you're going to have to raise your cost a little bit, that's $6,000, because I like to see you tape it. And I know that's going to take Sarah time, because I like, if it pops up on YouTube, I like to look at it to see what's going on. That keeps me informed. If the chair want to be there, she should be there, you know. Love to see her there, you know, but, you know.
Yeah, and we're going to have to buy cookies and things.
I didn't talk about feeding them because I'm not going to be there. So why are you going to sit up and bring up feeding them? Okay. Yeah, and you're going to be videotaping.
Yeah, and just for reference, I don't mind being the observer on the first go round. I don't mind.
Great.
So what we'll do is we'll revise the staff report and that handout sheet that you see in Exhibit 5, and we'll present that at the March board meeting.
All right, sounds good. All right, so just one more item, and that's me. And since this is our first committee meeting together with me as the chair, what I'd like to do is have the members kind of formulate 1 or 2 solid goals that you want for this committee to come up with in time to maybe present them at March 3. Is that our strategic planning meeting? Yeah, because I know our strategic planning committee meeting is our strategic planning meeting is going to also set goals. So I'd love to see this committee set some goals of their own. What do you want to do with public outreach? Big or small, it doesn't matter. I ran some numbers, and as you are probably becoming aware, I love numbers. I will do the math. We have about 112 to 114,000 customers, I believe. Correct, Dave? Yeah?
Yep.
And right now, Facebook has like 118 followers. In fact, I moved to Monterey to do recruitment for a small school, and I think the Citizens Panel is one way to recruit more people. I do know that the largest demographic of Facebook right now is that, 24 to 34-year-old age group. Maybe getting some ideas out to the college, to CSUMB, finding some way of including information in their newsletters that they have. And again, that's going to feed into who takes our place when we get old and decrepit and can't make it anymore. But that's all. I just wanted the committee members to think of 2, 3 goals that you want to see the committee come together and do. I really love our public outreach. This is probably the one committee that is the closest to my heart because I want to recruit. I want to get the message out that what the water district is doing, and get it out to our community. Get the correct information out there. Yes, I know waterboarding is not necessarily all that exciting to some people, but being somebody that came from knowing zero about water on this peninsula, other than it was expensive, to the 152 panel and seeing the division, desal versus, ownership. And I would love to see more people get informed and more excited about the water on this peninsula. We have the most expensive water in, I think, the United States here on the peninsula, and Callum's raising the rates again. And this is a hot topic issue. And I would love to see our public know what we're doing. And so if you can come up with 2 or 3 goals for the committee to push our public outreach to help Phil with what he's doing, to give him those, what did he say, that great next idea? Let's kind of focus on that so that we have something to bring to our strategic planning meeting on March 3. And that's it. That's all I have.
Well, before you all leave, I want to touch on a couple of things. And even though we're not Brown Act, I'm sure Michael will say that's not on the agenda. So related to potential future outreach, big basket here. One of the things that we are hopefully going to be able to tie specifically to the district is the modification of the CDO. I do have information to share with you. We had a call today with the deputy director of the State Water Board, and he was almost apologetic that they've failed to communicate, that it's been 4 months. He assured me they've been working on this. They're very sensitive to what they call ex parte rules, even though I cited their own rules directly to them, that process and procedure are not subject to ex parte rules. They tend to believe that they are, and therefore didn't want to communicate schedule, didn't want to communicate who's going to hear this, and so forth. But he attempted to give assurances that it's not being lost or forgotten, while at the same time saying, hey, your prompting emails every 2 to 4 weeks have been useful. Don't stop doing that. And I'm like, well, hopefully I don't have to keep doing that in 4 weeks and another 4 weeks and another 4 weeks and so forth. So it's still a black box, but from an outreach perspective, keep in mind, when and if they address it, this was our issue. We brought it up. Cal-Am was unwilling to bring it up in this odd mix of thinking they still have leverage to force a desal plant based on public opinion over lifting the moratorium on meter setting. So I'm beginning to believe we will get some movement in the next month or two, and possibly even get a statement from the State Water Board. He encouraged us that they may get a very generic statement out, which tells us almost nothing, but at least recognizes that they know that we're sitting here waiting. And I told them, I said, we got developers coming in on a weekly basis saying, what's going on? What's going on? So we need to continue to focus internally on getting that hearing done, but externally, this is our issue, and we will claim credit for it if we're successful. And
Thank you, Dave.
And hopefully that's a this year issue.
Excellent.
Thank you, Dave.
Excellent.
But we need to say what you just told us in public. I hammer on this because it's not for me, it's for the public. That's why I get so excited about the CDO. That's top of the business for me. That's number one. This citizen committee is number 10, to tell you the truth. But
well, let me give you number 2, Measure J.
That's right.
So there's 3 board members, so you would benefit from knowing we did get a trial date set for the latent powers piece, what they call the LAFCO piece. So the judge asked our attorney, and our attorney said, well, I think we're ready in a month. And they turned to Cal-Am's attorneys and they said, oh, I think we need 6 months. With expert testimony and so forth, try to make it look a little bigger than it was. And then the judge said, well, why don't we look somewhere in the middle, maybe 4 months out? He said, what do we have in August? And for those of you good with a calendar, that's not 4 months out, that's 6 months out. Where they landed was, oh, how about August 19th? Oh, no, Your Honor, I've got a trial. Oh, no, Your Honor, I'm going to be away, whatever it was. Then he said, well, let's take a look in September. And then when he looked back up from his computer, he said, how about October 19th? So that is our date. That's a long time of not doing a whole lot. Maybe it'll help us prepare an airtight approach to the case. So we'll see. But anyway, that'll be an event that if we lose, we're done until we win at appeal or we convert the voting block at LAFCO and actually have them vote us in. But if we prevail, then it moots the separate LAFCO appeal decision or case. So that's very important. But again, positive news, we have a trial date. Negative news, it's October.
Well,
go ahead. Okay. And then the third item, which I think is probably a result of last night's board meeting, but it could be a result of some other things. I got a call from the county, the head of their planning, Craig Spencer, today, who said, I'm hearing some rumblings out there that maybe the district's a little unhappy with the county on allocating water. And are you planning an end around the county or redoing the whole mechanism for allocating water? And I said, well, Craig, probably not rumblings, probably grumblings, because yeah, we've been grumbling about the county's failure to act, but we were also unhappy with the city of Monterey. We thought city of Pacific Grove took a long time. But we've also been approached by developers on a regular basis now who really want to get things moving, and a good, 3 or 4 of those 7 or so recent meetings are unincorporated county. I did walk them through the All Saints discussion. I said, look, there's 4 ways they can do this, all of which, our permit's not going to change the project. The project needs a permit, needs a water permit, but they could do this self-contained water system that's costly, complex, and requires certification. They could do a wheeling agreement with Cal-Am, which is costly, legally complex, and will take a lot of time. They could get an allocation from the county. You're not ready. And we said, okay, we will accept an application for district reserve. It's a very small amount, but that's all we did. There's not a whole door opening for anybody else who's coming through wanting water or, around the back of the county. But I think that perception was good because they just released their 3rd draft of the housing element, and there's a lot in there. There's some really wild projects in there, but he did assure us that they have a plan. They're getting really close, and they're going to bring something forward soon. But clearly the public communication, we didn't do it. So somebody had to report back to him either A, we're unhappy with the county, or B, oh, look, the district's starting to release water because the county can't do so.
Well,
that's going to remain a public outreach kind of issue out there until we get Monterey off the schneid and releasing water and so forth. So,
well, I don't mind saying it because if somebody else come in there from the county like that, I love to say no. Go to the county. Let them keep coming through that door if they want to. But we'll throw it to the board. But I will say no. And I say the county got water and they want to hold on to it like it's going to disappear before it disappears. So let them keep coming through the door. They over in that planning commission talking about pot lounges and stuff instead of allocating this water. That's what he probably heard. So I'm glad he heard it.
And I did learn last night, I don't think I knew it at the time, but originally we tried to get Kate to use her bully pulpit to go to the county folks and say, where's our policy? We need to get a policy going as a direct result of this All Saints request. But now I realize she felt conflicted because she's got a son in the school or a child in school, son or daughter. So she would have been a little out of line to advocate on behalf of the school to county staff anyway. So I get that now, but every time a developer comes in, we're going to tell them, hey, go talk to your county supervisor and have them deal with it. We've got another issue brewing. Again, let me just recheck. And that's going to deal with the airport. The airport is going to have an issue with their new terminal and getting a meter set. And it may be an opportunity for us to get to turn some board members there at the airport to be a little more proactive in communication with the State Water Board. So just stay tuned on that one, because if the predicament they're in prevails, which means you can't set a new meter for a $70 million new terminal, it's a little premature given that all they've done is pour concrete and graded for a parking lot, but it's coming. And I think they just realize now that they may have a problem that the modification of the CDO would solve for them. So.
Well, that's one reason why I like to keep the CDO on these agendas so we can talk about it.
Yep.
You know, future agendas, you know, like I keep, the CDO is a rolling object, a rolling project. that we trying to answer, and we need to keep that out front in the public, especially at the airport. And I like for public outreach to know who support it and who don't support it, and put it out there in public. So that's something in the future. Outreach.
Yep. On the airport specifically, just treat it as a developing story right now. I won't say that it's resolved one way or the other, but it's developing. And of course, who's on their board? Our dear friend who represents LAFCO.
That's why I want to keep it out there.
Yeah. So, that's all I have that is kind of tangentially or directly related to outreach issues. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any other comments? I think we're done. So with that, we will adjourn. Thank you, Sarah, for hosting.
You're welcome.
And we will see you all
March
next
6th.
week. March 6th or March 3?
6.
6.
All right. Thank you.
I
Very
need to
good.
change my calendar.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.